on the last day of the spring festivals, which means that we have completed the courtship and engagement process necessary to be brought into the renewed covenant. That is, assuming that each of us has walked the narrow path of washing with living water, presenting an offering on Passover, and rededicating your heart and mind to Yahuah's commandments. This all started like a traditional Hebraic, prearranged marriage. The father went out and chose a qualified bride for his firstborn son. The dowry or ransom for the bride has been paid with the husband's own blood on Passover. When Yahushua became the first of the firstfruits at his resurrection, he presented himself as a wave offering to the Father. The bride also does her part and presents herself properly prepared and spotless, cleansed of sin. Now finally they are engaged, wed together, and the wedding celebration or reception will take place later in the fall. So today each of us has the opportunity to do our part and accept the terms of the engagement, the marriage vows, which are the commandments. If you do that, then the marriage covenant between you and the firstborn son is legally binding, and you are under protection from the second death, only if you are in this new covenant. After the week of unleavened bread, there is the count of 7 weeks, or 49 days, and then the day afterwards is Shabuoth, or Pentecost. And now the bride of the Messiah has a long waiting period until the wedding celebration at the end of the summer, beginning with the announcement of the bridegroom's return on the Feast of Trumpets. In the fall, Yahushua will return for her, but for now the bridegroom has gone away for a little while to prepare a place for his new bride in his father's estate. John chapter 14. In my Father's house are many rooms. If this were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also, and where I go, you will know, and the way you will know. The resurrected sons of Yahuah are living stones, and Yahushua is the chief cornerstone of the spiritual temple of Yahuah, the Father's house, where the Spirit of Yahuah dwells among and within his family. Thus the phrase many rooms, or many mansions, meaning many dwelling places for the Spirit. It's important to notice here that while Yahushua is given a unique title as the chief cornerstone of the Father's house, he is still counted among all the other sons of Yahuah, the other bricks that form the structure. So all the sons, including the firstborn, are considered to be a single unit, which is separate from Yahuah himself. They are all together this object called the temple, which Yahuah's Spirit uses as a dwelling place. Simply put, the house is separate from its occupant. Yahuah is a separate entity from his habitation, his sons, even though his Spirit lives in them, just like a human father has a genetic code that inhabits his offspring. I'm over-explaining this because people commonly abuse this idea of oneness with the Father as a defense for the doctrine of incarnation, which as you know is the God-made flesh idea, as if the Father and Son are both one self-existent entity. They are not. But what about statements like this? In John chapter 10, Yahushua says, I and my Father are one. So what does that mean? Well, Christianity tells us that here the Messiah is affirming that he is a member of the Trinity, or claiming some metaphysical unity with the transcendent deity that refers to himself as one in Deuteronomy chapter 6. The problem with that is, there are multiple Hebrew terms that get translated as the word one. In the case of John chapter 10 and Deuteronomy chapter 6, we actually have 2 different words that mean different kinds of oneness, and neither of them implies a trinity or a God that is subdivided. Yahuah says of himself that he is one, which is the Hebrew word Echad. Echad means one in the basic sense of being singular or unique. It is often used as the literal number 1, like these 5 verses in Genesis. Let the waters below the heavens be gathered into one place. He took one of the man's ribs. The man has become one of us. We are all sons of one man. The youngest is with our Father today, and one is no more. And then sometimes you'll see Echad translated as single, like in Zechariah chapter 3. I will remove the iniquity of that land in a single day. Or it can be used as an adjective to signify that something is unique, such as Israel being called Goy Echad, a unique nation. So when we quote the Shema at Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 4, and when Yahuah refers to himself as one, the message is that Yahuah is singular and unique. Well, unique in what way? Yahuah is unique because he is the all-powerful, self-existent creator, compared to all the other gods who are created beings. See, this is why the Bible is technically not a monotheistic text, because it acknowledges the existence of other gods, lowercase g. But Yahuah is identified as the only one like himself, the Most High, above the hierarchy of little gods that are not eternal, but part of creation. These are the principalities and powers that control the nations, so the people of the world have always served these gods. So the theology of Israel has always been henotheism, not monotheism, meaning that while we are very familiar with other gods because we've been enslaved under their rulership, in most of our cases it was the God named Jesus, who most of the world bows down to now. Yahuah chooses us to serve him in spite of those false gods that he temporarily allows to run the world's governments, as was the case during the Exodus, when Yahuah basically waged war on all the gods of Egypt. This time Yahuah is using his appointed king to dethrone the false gods again. Notice what the first order of business is at the return of the Messiah and the first resurrection of Yahuah's sons. It's time for war against the authorities of the nations and the people who follow them. This is why Yahuah is calling for a remnant of Israel to come out of the nations and reject those gods to return to him as his chosen people. Come out of her, my people. The individuals that Yahuah is calling are invited to regain their status as members of the Commonwealth of Israel, to be his people again that serve this one unique Echad, God of Israel. And there are 3 requirements for becoming a citizen of Israel: mikvah, circumcision, and offering. These 3 gestures qualify you to partake of this covenant with Yahuah's firstborn son, making you his bride, called Israel, which grants you access to the Father's household. This brings us back to the discussion of being one with the Father, as Yahusha claimed to be. Since Yahuah is one, Echad, then what does it mean for a son to say that he is one with the Father? That is when we would use the word Yachad, which means oneness in the sense of familial unity, or you could say a family unit. In this case, one group of people sharing the same spiritual bloodline. Yahuah's offspring are one with him, Yachad, through covenant. They are one in mind, will, purpose, and spirit as a family. That's what will make his family a functional one for eternity. We all know how families are broken up when members don't share the same spirit and purpose. They move apart and don't work together. And that's why Yahusha says here that his entire goal in doing the work to secure the covenant was so that others could follow his example and become resurrected sons, all one with Yahuah as a family, just like him. And for their sakes I sanctify myself, that they also might be sanctified through the truth. Neither do I pray for these alone, but for them also which shall believe on me through their word. That is, those people like us who never met him but confess him to be Messiah through faith and belief. Them which shall believe on me through their word, that they all may be one, as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, that they also may be one in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. See, you don't have to be a God incarnate to be one with Yahuah, but you do have to enter into covenant with Yahusha through mikvah with living water, circumcision of the heart, and offering of your physical life in exchange for an eternal one as a member of Yahuah's family. Then you are one, Yachad, with Yahuah.